If you ask any physicist, they will tell you that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, not even information. Um, Math for it, it shows up in a couple places, but it shows up in this gamma thing. Sorry, that's a little bit messy. Gamma is the square root of 1 minus v over c all squared. The equation we've used a few times. What happens if v is bigger than c? If you wanted to, you could make up a number and plug it in and see what happens on your calculator. I'm going to work I'm just going to doodle it out just generally. If v were allowed to be greater than c, then in our ratio, v over c, we're going to have a number bigger than c divided by c. That ratio is going to be bigger than 1. When we think about our gamma, we're going to have on the denominator 1 minus something that's bigger than 1. Or another way to think about it is we're going to have gamma equals 1 over the square root of a negative number. I'm not sure where you're at in math class, but the square root of a negative number, that's not a real number. There's no number that I could use practically that I can square root it, and when I square it, I get a negative number. There's no negative number, then when we square root it, we get a real number. To deal with that, the square root of a negative number, they literally made up a new set of numbers and they called them, imaginary. Struggling here. The square root of a negative number is imaginary. When you see it in math class, they're going to use lowercase I to sort of use that as a notation. Our gamma, though, we use it to multiply and divide to tell us times, lengths, and masses. It doesn't make sense for time, length, and mass. It doesn't make sense for those to be imaginary. Since they're not allowed to be imaginary, then the situation that leads to them being imaginary, that situation can't be allowed. We got to this situation because we allowed v to be bigger than c when we tried to do our math. V being larger than c leads to something that can't happen. So v being larger than c, that's not allowed to happen. Something can't go faster than the speed of light because it would lead to imaginary time, which makes no sense. Since imaginary time makes no sense, the thing that caused it isn't allowed. So from a math perspective, things can't go faster than the speed of light because gamma becomes imaginary and gamma can't be imaginary.